Dolphins fans, what is going on? Ben Morgan, Fins Up Network. Just a matter of hours away now at this point. Thanks to, first and foremost, before we get into today's video, thanks first and foremost to everyone that has been following along throughout the offseason, all the NFL draft videos we've done, from mock drafts to player profiles to specific trade up, trade down pieces. Everything we've done, the support has been great. Thank you. The draft is here. We only have 4 picks, but man, the excitement level is still there for me. I am ready. I have been itching for this time. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a prediction video for the Miami Dolphins as it relates to the 2023 NFL draft. Quite honestly, more so than anything for entertainment purposes only. Predicting the draft, man, you've got to try to do a first round mock sometime. See how many you get right. It is not easy. It is a very inexact science. But hey, we're a Dolphins channel. I love the draft. We're going to do our best to predict it. So I've got a couple of random predictions, and then I'm going to make my outright prediction for our picks in the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th rounds. But before I start, I want to hear from you. Do you have any predictions for the Miami Dolphins in the 2023 NFL draft? If so, you know the drill. Drop them in the comments. If you like anything I've got to say, go ahead. Continue to show support. Give this video a thumbs up. All right, here we go. Number 1 prediction. Like I said, I am going to predict our picks at 51, at 84, the one in the 6th at 197, the one in the 7th at 238. However, prediction number 1. Despite me making predictions for those picks, I don't think we're going to end up with just those picks. Now, whether that's, we just talked about it recently, whether that's trading up for one of these running back prospects, whether it's Jahmyr Gibbs, whether it's Bijan Robinson, or hey, maybe it's trading back. Maybe we end up with more than 4 picks in this year's draft. I do think that the Miami Dolphins are going to be involved in at least one trade come draft day. So that's a quick prediction. And one more here before we get into the actual round by round. I do think we leave this draft with a new tight end. The way that things are kind of setting up, with the way that we've addressed the position so far this offseason, I don't think we're content with the guys we currently have on the roster at the position. I do think we draft a tight end at some point in the draft, and we will get to that very soon because I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to jump right in. And like I said, very, very, very inexact science here. But hey, we got to make a prediction. What else would we be doing at this point in time? So with that, in round 2, number 51 overall, if the Miami Dolphins keep the pick, I have got them taking a linebacker. I've got them taking Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Now, I know a lot of people, I put a poll out on the community page a few days ago. Overwhelming, most people want tight end or offensive line, and I'm not going that route with the pick. And I'm going to tell you why I'm not going with offensive line at this pick. It's because if the board falls kind of the way the experts are predicting it, kind of the way that I see it, I don't necessarily think there's going to be an offensive lineman on the board that the Dolphins say, hey, you can jump in from day one and contribute meaningful snaps. I've been saying it for weeks now. While I think that they could draft an offensive lineman, while yes, they need depth, I think they're going to want to get a guy at 51, if they keep the pick, that can contribute already in year 1. Now, whether that's a tight end like Darnell Washington, he wasn't my prediction here. I do have Darnell Washington off the board before the Dolphins pick. Whether that's a defensive back, not as much of a need. There's a lot of different routes they can go with this, and don't be surprised if they go defensive line. Yeah, we got Wilkins. Yeah, we got Sealer. But man, the Miami Dolphins really like some of the defensive linemen in this draft as well. However, with the way I've got the board shaking out, with still a somewhat decent need at linebacker, with Jack Campbell's ability to play against the run, shed the blocks, wrap up ball carriers, play coverage, I don't think the Dolphins are going to find a better player that's a combination, best player available, and still somewhat filling a position of need. Now, rambling on this one, I'm going to spend more times on picks 2 and 3 rather than the ones in the 6th and the 7th. But the other player that I had in consideration for this, playing the similar position, is Drew Sanders. And we talked about it, how Vic Fangio is a huge fan of Drew Sanders. However, I do have Drew Sanders coming off the board in the 1st round. If not the 1st, I think he's going to be gone by the time we pick. But if he's available, keep your eye on him as well. All right, prediction for the third round. And it goes back to my other prediction earlier about us leaving this draft with a tight end. Because, hey, if Darnell Washington's not there in the second round, there's going to be a couple of options that are on the board for the Dolphins in the third round. And honestly, the one that I like the best, the one that we've heard some rumblings about the team being kind of cool with as well, Tucker Kraft, tight end out of South Dakota. Now, he's not a perfectly clean prospect. He did play at a smaller school. He did have less competition in his collegiate days. However, the tools are there. He's a pretty good blocker, and he's a tight end that can create when the ball is in his hands. What do the Dolphins want from the position? That's exactly it. No, he's not Darnell Washington when it comes to blocking, but who is at the tight end position? Who is? He's probably a little bit better of a receiver than Darnell Washington is right now. But if he's on the board, this is another example of the Dolphins filling a need and a guy that could potentially get snaps already in year one, and who might honestly be best player available as well. So I really like the linebackers that are going to be on the board probably at this point in time. I like a lot of the cornerbacks as well. It's one of those deals as well where there's probably going to be an offensive lineman that could be in consideration as well. But I don't see the Dolphins extending out and reaching and grabbing an offensive lineman when there's a tight end such as Tucker Kraft on the board. If he makes it, like I said, very inexact science that we're dealing with here. But my prediction for the Dolphins in the third round is Tucker Kraft. And like I said, I'm going to probably breeze through these next two because at this point, talk about throwing darts. Try to predict a guy that any team is going to pick in any of the rounds, let alone the sixth and the seventh. Not the easiest thing in the world. So I've ran a couple of simulators, and more often than not, I've seen Ronnie Hickman, the safety out of Ohio State, available in this time. Sometimes he's not. The simulators have their flaws. You all know that if you've been messing around with them. However, if he's available, I like some of the safety options in rounds 2 and 3. Obviously, with my predictions, I didn't have the Dolphins taking a safety. So with Hickman, in my opinion, potentially being the best safety on the board at this point in time, we're not drafting need. I've been a broken record all offseason during this draft prep saying we're not drafting for need at any position. You definitely don't draft for need in the 6th round. But with Ronnie Hickman being available, with him playing a position that outside of Jamon Holland, you got Brandon Jones on the last year of his deal, and you've got Deshaun Elliott, who you only signed to a 1-year deal. You've got a couple of pieces here where in 2024, the position may look quite different. So getting a little bit of depth right now, getting a guy in Fangio's system, letting him grow, develop, get a little bit more comfortable. Boom, insert Ronnie Hickman. And in the 7th, I've mocked Jaxson Kirkland to the Dolphins a couple of different times, and whether it's videos or community page posts or tweets, whatever I've been putting out. Miami has done some homework on Jaxson Kirkland. Like I said, it's a late round offensive lineman, whether they take him in the 6th, the 7th, potentially UDFA, a name that at least the Miami Dolphins are connected to at a position that, yep, we're still needing some depth. And I do think, without going on too much of a tangent here, I do think we're going to see the Dolphins be a bit more active once the draft is over, bringing in maybe a couple of veterans for offseason work from the offensive line. But hey, if you're kicking the tires on someone late rounds of the draft pick, a guy that they've done some homework on, give me Jaxson Kirkland for the Dolphins in the 7th round. But Dolphins fans, that is what I have for today. Like I said right away, go ahead, drop your top prediction in the comments below. Let's carry on the conversation leading up to the draft. Speaking of the draft, I'm going to post that first round mock that I do on the community page. So go ahead, check that out. Rip it, agree with it, whatever you want to do with it. It is a shot in the dark. But that is my time for today. Thanks again for following along with all of the draft coverage, one of my favorite times of the year. And until next, I'm going to be recapping every single Miami Dolphins pick throughout the weekend. So stay tuned, get subscribed, be checking those out. And until then, Dolphins fans, fins up.